Nearly 2,000 years ago, a man who held the greatest power in the known world spent his private hours writing reminders to himself about how to stay calm, wise, and good. His name was Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, and the collection of these personal notes became known as Meditations. He never meant for anyone else to read them. They were simply a way of talking himself through the same struggles every human being faces: stress, disappointment, fear, and the frustration of things going wrong. At the center of his thinking was one idea that has outlived empires. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. We cannot control what others think of us, how they behave, or what the future holds. We cannot undo the past or force people to be fair, kind, or reasonable. But we can always control our own thoughts, choices, and responses. Most of our suffering comes not from events themselves, but from fighting against things we were never going to be able to change in the first place. Imagine standing in a storm. You cannot order the clouds away or stop the rain by wishing it so. Struggling against the weather only exhausts you. What you can do is choose how you prepare, where you take shelter, and how you carry yourself through it. Life works the same way. Marcus Aurelius believed that wisdom begins with accepting reality as it actually is, not as we wish it were, and then directing all our energy toward the one thing that is truly ours to shape: our own character. He also understood something else that feels just as true today. Two people can live through the exact same event and come away with completely different feelings about it, because it is not the event itself that creates suffering, but the meaning we attach to it. Our minds act like a lens. If that lens is clouded with fear or anger, even small problems appear enormous. But if we build the habit of pausing before reacting, that same lens can show us the situation clearly. He was not suggesting we suppress emotion or pretend to feel nothing. Anger, sadness, and disappointment are simply part of being human. The danger is letting a passing emotion make a permanent decision on our behalf. So before responding to an insult, a failure, or an unexpected setback, he would ask himself simple questions. Will this matter in a week? Am I reacting from wisdom or merely from feeling? That brief pause between what happens to us and how we respond is, in his view, the very location of human freedom. We can't always choose our circumstances, but we can always choose who we become inside them. And that single shift in perspective is often enough to make an unbearable moment feel manageable again. He also warned against building an identity on things that can vanish overnight, such as recognition, wealth, or popularity, since anything built on borrowed ground will always feel fragile. Instead, he pointed toward qualities that cannot be taken from a person against their will: kindness, discipline, honesty, patience, and courage. These, he argued, are the only possessions that truly belong to us, because no outside force can strip them away unless we choose to give them up ourselves. The goal of this way of thinking, which later generations would call Stoicism, was never to become cold or emotionless. It was to become someone who could feel deeply and still remain steady. Someone who could experience both success and failure without being thrown off course by either one. In a life crowded with distractions competing endlessly for our attention, Marcus Aurelius kept returning to the same quiet conclusion. Real peace is never found by rearranging the outside world until it finally satisfies us. It is found by rearranging the inside of our own mind. This is a project that never truly finishes because circumstances keep changing and new tests keep arriving. But that is precisely the point. Each difficult person, each disappointment, each unexpected turn is simply another opportunity to practice the very qualities we hope to strengthen. Patience only grows in the presence of people who test it. Courage only grows in the presence of something worth fearing. A life with no friction at all would leave those muscles completely untrained. Understood this way, hardship stops looking like pure misfortune and starts looking like raw material. Just as a tree grows deeper roots because of the wind that presses against it rather than in spite of it, a person grows a steadier character because of the resistance life provides, not by avoiding that resistance altogether. This does not mean seeking out suffering for its own sake, but it does mean refusing to see every obstacle as pure loss. Somewhere inside almost every hard moment there is a smaller question hiding, one that Marcus Aurelius asked himself again and again. What can I actually control right here, right now? And what am I simply being asked to accept? Beyond mastering our own reactions, Marcus Aurelius spent a great deal of time thinking about how to deal with other people, since human beings are naturally different from one another and will inevitably disappoint, misunderstand, or act unfairly toward us at some point. Expecting everyone to think and behave exactly as we would is a guaranteed recipe for constant frustration. His answer was not blind tolerance of bad behavior, but a shift in where he placed his energy. Rather than immediately judging someone, he tried to understand them first, not because their actions were automatically excusable, but because resentment tends to injure the person carrying it far more than the person who caused the original offense. He compared holding on to anger to carrying a heavy weight and expecting someone else to feel tired from it. The weight, he noted, always stays with you. None of this meant allowing others to mistreat him. He still believed firmly in setting boundaries and protecting himself. But he separated that healthy self-protection from the corrosive habit of nursing bitterness long after the moment had passed. Alongside his thoughts on other people sat an equally central idea: the acceptance of constant change. Everything around us, our possessions, our relationships, our achievements, even our own bodies, is temporary. And much of our suffering comes from trying to hold permanently onto things that were only ever lent to us for a while, rather than treating this as a depressing thought. He treated it as the very reason life feels valuable at all. A sunset matters because it does not last. A meaningful conversation matters because the moment will pass. A relationship becomes more precious, not less, once we understand that every shared moment is limited and cannot be recovered once it is gone. Instead of gripping tightly out of fear of loss, he encouraged appreciating the present while it is actually in front of us, since fear of losing something is often what keeps us from fully experiencing it in the first place. He did not believe a good life meant a life free of struggle. He believed it meant using every experience, whether pleasant or painful, as material for becoming a better person. And he saw this as the true purpose behind everything he wrote in Meditations. He was never chasing a life without problems. He was chasing the strength to face problems with clarity and courage. And he insisted that this strength has nothing to do with collecting more success, more recognition, or more approval from other people. Real character shows up in quieter places, the way we treat people who can do nothing for us in return, the choices we make when nobody is watching, and our ability to stay calm when circumstances refuse to go our way. He suggested a simple daily habit for anyone hoping to practice this philosophy rather than just admire it from a distance. Begin each day by asking a few honest questions. What can I actually control today? How can I respond better than I did yesterday? What kind of person do I genuinely want to become? These questions pull attention away from everything we cannot change and return it to the one place where real improvement has ever been possible, which is ourselves. He also thought often about the shortness of life, not as a source of dread, but as a reason to pay closer attention to it. Every day we are given is one we will never receive again, which makes even small ordinary moments worth noticing. A quiet morning, a conversation with someone we care about, a small chance to learn something new. These moments are the actual material a meaningful life is built from. None of this wisdom was ever meant to stay as words on a page. It was meant to be practiced, pausing before reacting, choosing patience over anger, focusing effort only where it can make a difference, and accepting that life will always contain things beyond our reach. You do not need to become a philosopher to apply any of it. You only need to grow more aware of your own thoughts, actions, and the way you habitually respond to the world in front of you. Perhaps the single most valuable lesson Marcus Aurelius left behind is this: the quality of a person's life is deeply tied to the quality of that person's mind. You cannot always choose your circumstances, prevent every disappointment, or control how other people behave. But you can always choose your attitude, your response, and the person you become through repeated small decisions. So the next time something difficult happens, pause for a moment before reacting and ask yourself honestly whether this is within your control. If it is, take action. If it is not, release the struggle and protect your own peace instead. Repeated daily, that one small habit is enough to slowly reshape how an entire life feels. Because the greatest victory was never about controlling the world around you. It was always about learning to master yourself